Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. How's it going? Welcome to another capital hungry discussion. Discussions that people don't want to talk about in the real world anymore. Discussions that are being suppressed and oppressed for what I think is a very, very good reason. You know what I mean? So, I'm just gonna let people join here, but hopefully you guys have seen some of my previous webinars. Yeah, don't worry. If God wants to come down and spite me, I'll happily accept that. Other than that, please, all you Jesus lovers, just keep it to yourself in the chat. You know what I mean? God damn, you guys are fucking so weird. Hopefully, as you guys have come on this channel many times now, you have got to see some of these webinars. We are in a mentally weak and sick society, blissful ignorance, how the world is hypnotized, and society is hypnotized how to break out. Even the pandemic rant of the 1% versus the 99%. All right? Please make sure you guys watch these webinars to get more context and information, because all of these webinars were fact-based, where this current webinar I'm going to be doing right now for all of you is going to be more of a personal theory that I have with facts that are supporting it. But it's still just a theory that can't be 100% proven. Understand? So all of these were 100% fact-based. The blissful ignorance, how the world is hypnotized, we're in a mentally weak and sick society, and the pandemic rant. You could go watch them. You could go fact check whatever you want. Any facts or information that I'm saying in this webinar, you can also go fact check. But I'm just sharing right now that this is more of a personal theory that I have and have been developing. And I'm probably not the first. I'm not saying I'm the first, but I just really want to share it. I just really want to share it with everybody and really get my voice out there about this topic, because I see it as almost the last straw of society. Okay? I see it as the last straw and the last hope of our very mentally weak and sick society. This is not a webinar against feminism. This is not a webinar against any social justice issues. This is not a webinar of men versus women. This is a webinar discussing masculine traits known throughout civilization and history versus feminine traits and the purposes, outcomes, and what is produced by these traits. Okay? I'm going to go through exactly what I want to say, and then I'll read the chat and be open for discussion. If you guys want to talk about Jesus, God, you want to have a debate about that stuff after, you can do your best to prove the existence of God to me, if that's what you want to do with your time. I'm not here to argue about people's religious or their beliefs in whatever faith. I'm not here to argue about people's political views. I'm not here to talk about all the shit going on in the jar. The first thing that sparked my attention was this screenshot. Can you guys read this? This is how our modern society is running. I'm not concerned about all the shit going on in the jar. So if you guys want to come talk to me about faith versus science, rich versus poor, left versus right, man versus woman, I don't give a flying fuck. You're wasting your energy, you're wasting your breath. I am more personally focused on the core issues at hand that I can validate are real, and that the powers that are running our world, our financial systems, our global food supplies, our our global pharmacy industry, global media, and so forth. Okay? So let's read this. If you collect 100 black ants and 100 red ants in a jar, and you put them in a glass jar, nothing will happen unless they have, like, if you put something of the same species within a jar, especially humans, most likely you're not going to have really any violence or anything going on. But if you violently shake that jar, the ants will start killing each other. The red ants believe the black is the enemy, while blacks believe the red is the enemy, and they're all extremely focused on the jar being shook and focused on each other as they were rocking into each other, hitting into each other, while being distracted from actually who shook the jar. So this is This is a I don't know what you want to call this, but it's a very brief example of how our modern society is working. You have the 99% of people who are trapped within this mental prison that we've discussed in the previous webinars, that are focused on all these social justice issues, political issues, religious issues, gossips, rumors, nonsense amongst themselves, but nobody's looking at who's shaking the jar. Who's bringing these issues to light? Who's putting it on the mainstream media? Who is pushing these agendas and narratives? Right? That is why this is my opinion. I don't give a fuck about race, religion, politics, social issues, media noise, or any other type of human divide. Anything else that is used to divide mankind, I do not care about it. This is all nonsense that society is hypnotized into. It is the reason why I do not care about it. It is because simply I can see who is shaking the jar while the rest of the world is choosing to remain blind. This is one of the first things that sparked my interest to do this webinar today. You guys know I do these webinars just off the top of my head. I'll have an idea, then I'll quickly take some notes, and then I'll just go live. That's why sometimes if I make some speech errors, if I make some verbal errors, it's not like any of this stuff is scripted, okay? The second thing that sparked my interest is this fact. An average 22-year-old male today has the same testosterone levels as a 67-year-old had in 2000. Average testosterone has fallen close to 50% in the last 20 years. And my theory also falls in line with this because I personally think the elite have created a war on masculinity over the last 20 years, and more particularly over the last decade. And I'm going to be discussing why masculinity is being targeted and destroyed. This is a very, very scary scientific fact. Okay? And I'm going to be talking about the economic impacts, the social impacts, the political impacts, and the real world impacts of the destruction of masculinity. Of how the destruction of masculinity is literally decreasing little boys and men's testosterone, production, growth, and levels overall. This is a sickness. This is an illness. This is targeting and destroying something. Okay? All right, so let's get into it. But I just wanted to share with you guys what was sparking this webinar. All right? So anybody who wants to share their social views, political views, save it for the end, and I'll entertain you at the end. All right. So we know that. Okay, so first of all, let's start it off. This is about the war on masculinity. This is not about man versus woman. This is not about man versus a specific group of people. Well, I guess it is. It's about mankind versus the 1%. But this is about specifically masculinity and the destruction of masculinity. I personally believe the 1% and elite are destroying masculinity to extend their power hold on the world in modern society. I do not think there is any inequality between man and woman in the modern world. I actually believe, based on statistics, the freedoms of the modern world, resources at our fingertips, that women actually have more opportunities now than man did 100 years ago. Not women having more opportunities than women did 100 years ago. Women have more opportunity and freedoms now than man did 100 years ago. With the innovation of technologies, societies, and how that has escalated. There is no real inequality, right? You could go into that rant and start listing out the pros and cons of being a man or woman in society. Then you're just falling into that jar discussing nonsense. I'm simply going to put it that women nowadays have more opportunity than man did even 50 years ago. Can anybody deny that before I continue on? Because that is the simple way to deduct that there really is no inequality between man and woman in the modern society. You could even argue that there are more potential opportunities for women to take advantage of now due to the fact that men are being emasculated. But that is a topic for a different conversation. Okay? So there is no real inequality between man and woman. All of this is being fabricated, but you're seeing all of this social justice and all of this support for modern day radicalized feminism. You're seeing it in mainstream media. You're seeing it all over social media. It's getting pushed to the front page of the newspaper is what I like to say. Okay? You're not seeing, for example, everything that gets pushed to the front page of the newspaper is what the media company wants you to see first. Everything that gets pushed to CNN, to mainstream media, and is always being portrayed on mainstream media has an agenda. And I'm going to give you guys a very simple, brief example of this. You guys see tons and tons of media headlines for social justice issues like Black Lives Matter. Now you're seeing social justice issues for Asian Lives Matter. You've seen such media coverage for feminist rights, for social justice rights, for LGBTQ rights, right? Now, I'm not downplaying that these are not potential issues that have risen in society, but do we not have bigger issues at hand? Do we not have bigger issues to deal with as humanity, as mankind? Isn't global poverty or famine or disease bigger issues than Black Lives Matter or Asian Lives Matter or LGBTQ rights or feminist rights? Right? Isn't the survival of certain human individuals in our modern society more important? Shouldn't our focus be, if we were really a just and fair society and we really cared for the best interests of other man or human or mankind, would our media and global attention as a society not be focused on abolishing poverty, getting rid of famine, getting rid of and actually focusing on removing a lot of these diseases that we do have cures for in these third world countries? No, because we can't have everybody healthy, surviving. Otherwise the earth would be overpopulated. That is the simple economic fact. So when you're looking at that, no, I'm talking about the difference between social issues and humane issues, right? When you're looking at a social issue such as, let's just say, women's rights, women are not on the brink of either death or survival for this issue. Do you understand? Feminism is not a bigger issue or women's rights or men's rights are not a bigger issue than poverty or hunger or another human survival. How can you say that's subjective? You must be an absolute retard to say that's subjective. If you're looking at everything from a humane perspective, you could simply put, well, yeah, survival is the biggest issue. Do you understand? Any issues that come after survival are smaller issues than survival. Survival is primary for mankind. Social issues are less important than humane issues. That's a fact. Social issues are less important than humane issues. Right? A human survival is much more important than a social need or want. We can put, is that not a simple fact? A human survival, no matter what view you're looking at, okay, how about you go to a third world country without food, water, or any money and tell me if you're focused on women's rights, or tell me if you're focused on your survival. Let's put it that way. If you are going to be put in a situation where you're going to be either put on the brink of survival, you're not going to give a fuck about anybody's rights or the balance of social issues. You're going to be focused on surviving. As a human being, as any living species or an organism, your primary goal is survival. So there you go. There you go, proven wrong. So let's go to the next step now. All right? Now, we understand that our modern society is running on a global power hierarchy. It starts from the central banking and financial system, goes down to the governments and to the industries down the line. That means food, pharma, media, and education is all being dictated, controlled, supplied by the same 1% that are controlling the global financial system. Do you understand? Right? Now, when you can see those main issues at hand, when those are the core issues at hand, that it's the 1% controlling and dictating and creating these issues between the 99%. Right? If any of you guys are saying survival is subjective, you guys are extremely entitled and extremely privileged. You guys have clearly never been to any impoverished country. You guys have never been on the brink of survival, on the brink of death due to hunger or starvation. So to say that the need of survival and the severity of survival is subjective to social issues is one of the most entitled statements I could ever hear. That is one of the most first world entitled statements I could ever hear. Because I would bet any money that if anybody who is saying survival is subjective compared to social issues, if you get put on the spot and you get put into a corner where it's life or death, your brain is not going to be focused on BLM. Your brain is not going to be focused on any religious beliefs. Your brain is not going to be focused on any social or political issues. Your brain is biologically going to be programmed to focus on your survival. But you have never been in that situation, so you are speaking from a subjective perspective based on your privileges and entitlement. It's that simple. Humans biologically, when you get put into a corner and you're on the brink of death, you are put into survival mode. So that is 100% more important. Life or death is more important than a social issue. It just might not be important to you because you've never been in that situation. That has got to be some of the most disgusting, self-entitled, privileged things to say. That survival is not the most important issue for humans, and then everything else comes after. Are like, come on. How uneducated can you be? In the first world, survival is not an issue. That's why everybody's focused on nonsense, social issues instead. But if you go to a country that's getting bombed every single day, that doesn't have any jobs, that's living in poverty, they're not focused on fucking social issues. They're focused on survival first, because that's what comes first as a human being. Please educate yourselves a bit more before wanting to have that type of discussion. Otherwise, you're going to be made to look like a fool. And I don't want to have conversations with fools. I want to have conversations with other people who can have that discussion and be open to having that discussion and looking at the reality of the entire world, not just looking at the reality of the world through their little scope and lens. All right? So, there's a global power hierarchy that has been running the world through civilization and society. Understand? We understand from my previous webinars that big food, pharma, media, and education is being controlled and dictated and supplied by the 1%. The 1% have always controlled and dominated the 99% using masculine traits. Now we're going to be diving into the main meat and potatoes of this webinar. Let's look at society and the development of society through civilization. Whether it be Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, and the conquering that happened back in the day, whether it be the development of global infrastructure, roadways, networks, power grids, sewage systems to the modern day society, at the end of the day, this has been propelled, created, and escalated by masculine traits. Do you understand? It has been man who has created the world you see around you. All right? The reason for this is not because man is better than woman. It is because that man, through their biological makeup, through that development of testosterone, through having those natural masculine traits, the aggression, the ambition, the logical thinking, the outward worldly thinking, the innate need to create, conquer, explore, and grow, and being the provider role, those types of masculine traits is what has led to the creation and development of our modern society, whether you like it or not. Even though women have as much opportunity as men nowadays, and even now they can fully go work in sewage, they can go work in sewage plants, they could go work on the power plants, they could go work in global oil rigs, they are making the choice not to, and it's nothing wrong if they're making the choice not to, but they're making the choice not to because of their natural feminine traits. All right? These same masculine traits is what the 99% is what the 1% have used, exerted, and enforced to create this power hierarchy that runs our modern world. Okay? Now, back in the days of the development of civilization, you needed masculine traits in order to survive. In order to survive, your survival was not linked to money or earning money to go out and purchase food, shelter, or clothes. These masculine traits were directly what led to actual hunting, gathering, providing, survival, creation, growth. As society started to develop and the natural need for survival decreased, because innovation and technology increased, because as innovation, technology, and civilization developed, now humans were moving up the food chain. There were less predators to go after humans. The need for natural survival was being decreased. What we have seen in the last maybe 500 years and easily in the last 100 years is as the need for survival has diminished in our modern society. Meaning, in the first world, you don't actually need to go hunt for your food. You don't actually need to go create and build a physical shelter. All of this stuff and infrastructure is there for you. Now, modern day survival has been linked to money. Modern day survival has been linked to the dollar. Now you have to work and earn money to survive. The 1%, through these masculine traits, have created one of the most corrupt global financial systems and means of survival, where if you don't have money, then you don't survive. What is the real world example of this? Well, look at first world countries like I'm talking to you guys, and the privileges, resources, and entitlement that is in first world versus third world countries that are in complete poverty, that are dealing with famine, dealing with all of these actual survival issues. It's because there is no money, investment, business opportunity in those countries, but that has all been man-made and decided ahead of time. You can't have every single person in the world healthy and flourishing. The 1% understand this because this would lead to overpopulation of the earth, and everybody would suffer with overpopulation. There would be extreme pollution. The earth would deteriorate because at the end of the day, humans are a cancer to the natural earth. Humans only destroy, corrupt, and deteriorate the earth. They don't add to it. We don't bring value to the earth. We only take, and take. And if you have too many parties that are taking and taking and taking, The earth will just be destroyed. You can't sustain life on it. That fucks up everybody. Right? So this system where modern survival is linked to money is all man-made. The 1% are using masculine traits to exert their dominance, whether it be through still physical conquering, war, threats with physical war, economic power, political power. All this power, all this conquering, all this control are masculine traits. The last thing the 1% need to do to ensure that this current hierarchy and system stays as is to destroy any masculinity left in the world. As soon as you destroy the masculinity in current man and the next generation of man, you are destroying the last piece of pie that could ever had a chance to fight back, resist, or create a revolution against the 1%. As soon as modern masculinity and overall masculinity is destroyed and removed from man, and you have all these boys that are turned into essentially females, and they get turned from this type of thinking and this type of natural behavior into this, when you have people or a collective that are making their decisions based on emotions, that are lacking that natural hunger and aggression, that are more thinking selfishly and inwardly towards their own personalities, that are more playing a nurturing and caretaking role. How can you ever bring together a collective to fight back against who is really shaking the jar? Huh? How are we ever going to, even if we wake up as a society to see who is rocking the jar, and to see who is really controlling the world and dictating our money supply, our food supply, big pharma, dictating the media system and what we watch and consume and goes in our brains in the education, even though we might all become awake to see who is rocking the jar, if masculinity is destroyed, we will not have the power to fight back. We will not be, even if we can unify and be aware to the corruption of the world, where we know the pandemic has exposed that corruption tenfold. The pandemic has exposed that corruption exponentially. Of the rich getting richer, the poor getting poorer, the rich taking advantage of the poor, the 1% versus the 99%, how easily the 99% get controlled and shut down, locked down, forced to stay at home, forced to follow curfews, forced to follow all these social rules and programming, just like that. It is the destruction of masculinity. It is creating even more conformity, destroying any type of fight, aggression that can potentially arise, so there will never be a change to this actual power hierarchy. The ants will continue for the next 100 years fighting amongst the ants, and guess what? There's always going to be a new social issue. There's always going to be a new gender that comes out. There's always going to be a new movement, and it's never going to actually change this system that we are born into, this invisible prison that we are born into. Understand? All of this, it's noise. It's us fighting amongst ourselves. But now we are starting to see who is rocking the jar. You are noticing that more people are starting to have these conversations. More people are starting to have enough. But the 1% was already aware of this potential risk. The 1% is running based on finances, money, profit, and power. Because the more money you have in control, the more power you have in our modern world. Because the more money and power you have, you're dictating humanity's survival. Because nowadays modern survival is linked to the dollar. If you don't have money, you can't put those clothes on your back, food in your stomach, or have that shelter to live in. right? The 1% know every single risk and every single reward, calculated as refined as it could be. They saw this potential risk of men eventually rising up and saying, fuck this, we're taking back the world and we're going to make it justified again. Because let's look at civilizations and society. Anytime women have ever been oppressed in society, they have never ever been able to come together as a collective and outsmart or outwit or outgrow or outstrengthen their oppressors. Please understand this. This has nothing to do with negatively putting down women. This has to do with the fact that females share feminine traits. You have never seen women that have been oppressed through civilization or society actually fight back collectively as females and fight back against their oppressors. You have only seen men who have been oppressed through society finally get to that breaking point and unleash their masculine traits and say, enough is enough. I'm gonna fight for what I believe in and what is right, and unleash those masculine traits. And whenever you see men get to that breaking point, that's when you see revolutions through society. That's when you see governments being overthrown. That's when you see change happen in society. Women have only ever fought back against oppressors with the help of men, due to men bringing those masculine traits to support the causes of women. But you have to understand, even modern day feminism, modern day social justice issues, they have only been put onto the main stage by the 1%. Because the 1% who control media, they want feminism and extreme feminism. They want the destruction of masculinity. They want to put that on the main stage. That pushes and fits their narrative. Do you understand what I'm saying? If the 1%, the men who control the world, who have been exerting their masculine traits to exert their dominance on the world, if they did not have this agenda to destroy masculinity, you would never see feminist issues on the news or on the media. This is all being decided ahead of time. Pick and choose to push a certain narrative, to push a certain agenda. All this is doing is further dividing people, making them easy to conquer, and also as a byproduct, one, you're dividing now and creating fights between man and woman. Women say kill all men, men are starting to say man fuck women. That's just another divide created between the 1%. A byproduct of that is men are being, masculinity is being destroyed through that process. And guess who understands this more than anyone? China. The same time in the first world, in our first world nations, as masculinity is being destroyed, as 22-year-old men in their absolute primes, testosterone is 50% lower than 20 years ago. Guess what China is instilling in their boys from the earliest age possible right now, as we speak? Masculine traits. China is making their boys even more aggressive, ambition, logical thinkers, and instilling even more masculine traits in their boys. Why is China proposing masculinity training to their boys, as they've been alarmed by this potential issue to come? They are pushing their boys to be stronger leaders, push themselves to get better grades, to push themselves physically. The exact same thing we have been saying. The exact same thing I have been saying. Women cannot teach men how to be men because women do not have masculine traits. Why is BBC News, why is China creating their men to be soldiers? Because guess what? 10, 20 years from now, when China wants to come and take over, There's not going to be anybody to fight back in the first world. What are the women going to do then? What are all these feminists, SJWs going to do when if it ever arises to physical conflict again? What are the feminists, SJWs, or even the soy boy men, I like to call them, gonna do if even all of us men unite as a collective and say, you know what, we're not taking this shit anymore. We're gonna fuck the sewage systems, we're not running it now. Fuck the global power systems. If men decide to stand up together, unite, and exert their masculinity, feminists and SJWs won't even have the power to charge their phone to even tweet about their issues. Let's look at the core issues at hand, huh? If men in the first world decided to exert their aggression and masculinity and take a stand as man, no matter what color, race, or religion, and say, fuck this shit. Let's see what you guys do if we don't want to work now. Let's see how the global power systems run. Let's see how you guys do with the global sewage system. Let's see you guys do with the oil rigs. How you gonna put gas in your car? How you gonna charge your phone? How you even gonna tweet? Do you understand me? Everybody's ignoring those core fundamental concepts that are generated from masculinity, that are being maintained by masculinity. Do you understand? Is everybody following along so far? Is everybody understanding my viewpoint, my perspective? This is not judging women. This is not putting men against women. This is not putting down feminists or SJWs. But feminists and SJWs and all of these people supporting these social issues have been misled by the 1% to support this narrative to destroy masculinity. And we understand what the destruction of masculinity will do to society. Society will crumble. The 99% will be weaker than ever. Their fight will be gone. The 1% will solidify their wealth, power, and control for the next 100 years. And know that there will be no one to even fight back against what's going on. People might be aware of the destruction, the corruption, and the greed, but who will be able to fight back? Right? China says our boys are becoming weak, inferior, and timid. China says the boys are not all right. So in the first world, in our first world nations, masculinity is being destroyed. As we know, boys and men are becoming more weak, inferior, and timid. And you know what the fucked up part is from a social aspect? Women biologically are attracted to masculine men. Right? If a woman is with a man and that man starts to show too much and that man starts to show too many feminine traits, that woman will actually lose attraction to that man. So you have a bunch of women teaching men how to be men, and then they won't even be attracted to those men. They won't even have any biological interest to those men because those men are not exerting any masculine traits that can increase the female's chance of survival, of living a more luxurious, safer life. Women are naturally programmed through biology and history to go to the best option of survival. The best option of survival in our modern day means the guy who is most confident, making the most money, and shows the most masculine traits. So the fucked up part of the social side of this is you have all these women teaching, and all these women or society overall pushing the destruction of masculinity, and now women aren't even going to be into these men anymore. There's no longer going to be that sexual chemistry. There's no longer going to be that biological attraction. Why would a woman want to carry the child of a feminine man? Understand? When a woman is looking to produce a child, she wants to carry the child of a man that can be a provider, that can take care of them. that plays those masculine roles. Why would a woman ever want to have that biological attraction and create a baby with another woman, essentially? With somebody who's just as feminine as her? It's not going to happen. This is that exact concept is why I'm telling you feminists, SJWs, and all of these people who are supporting the destruction of masculinity, they're being misled. They're being misled. Because one, we already identified that there is no inequality between man and woman in our modern society in the first world. Two, we just identified that biologically, women would lose their attraction to a man if he shows too many feminine traits. So right then and there is our two factual confirms that this is a narrative to destroy masculinity and to mislead the 99%, in this case women, social justice warriors, down a path of distraction. And this same thing is not just in media, it's going into our education systems. The destruction of masculinity is now being taught in school. It's not being shown as a destruction of masculinity. It's being portrayed everywhere. And it's being portrayed everywhere in media, and it's being accelerated in big pharma. Nowadays, when a boy who has been emasculated, a man who is being emasculated, and he cannot exert his natural masculine tendencies or traits, because if he does exert or show those masculine traits, he will be put down by his friends, family, peers, workers. He will be put down. He will be told what he's doing is wrong. So what does that man do who can't even exert his natural male aggression, his natural masculinity? He goes to Big Pharma and they give him some Xanax. They give him some Prozac. They give him a drug to cope with the depression he's feeling because he is trapped within his own mind. So now you have the modern media, the modern education system, and Big Pharma pushing the narrative to destroy masculinity. To keep mans as weak, feeble, inferior, and timid as possible. To have men no longer thinking based on logic, but thinking based on emotion. And another example of how I'm showing you guys this is this. Why is China pushing manhood training? Why is China trying to mitigate male feminization? Why is China trying to cultivate and grow masculinity? Do you know why China is trying to grow and cultivate masculinity? Because China is an absolute powerhouse, economic powerhouse. China is a country that is constantly on the need of production and growth. And China knows that production, the development of society, and the innovation of society only comes from masculine traits. It's that simple. The production, escalation, innovation of society, and maintaining their power as they are now is only going to come from exerting masculine traits. Nowadays, you have women trying to exert masculine traits, but they biologically just cannot. You have all these tomboy-ass bitches that think they can do what a man can do when you physically, biologically, and mentally cannot. You can only push yourself to some limit before your feminine traits of emotions come and intercept anything. There is a reason that men in our modern society have seen more success than women. It is not due to it is not due to a societal chosen difference between man and woman. It is because due to non-emotional logical thinking, due to aggression and ambition, men have an easier time sticking to goals and plans. Where women might have that initial burst of ambition or energy to go after a goal that's going to take a lot of work and effort, but as soon as an emotional thought intercepts that, they quit, they cut it out, they stop. This is not downgrading women. This is why there has always been a power role between man and women through civilization and through society. This is why women have naturally been more inclined to playing that nurturing and caretaking role. The destruction of female and feminine traits and the destruction of men and masculinity is a narrative and agenda to keep the 1% in control. Do you understand? Right? This has nothing to do with God, religious beliefs, spiritual beliefs. This has nothing to do with any of that. This has nothing to do with man versus woman. This has nothing to do with race versus race. This is masculinity versus femininity. The science behind both. The historical repetition of both. Right? I wanted to share that view because over the last decade, this is being absolutely accelerated by social media, by the pandemic, by these global lockdowns, by media and what they choose to put on the front page. You don't see CNN and the media putting hunger, famine, poverty on the front page every single day. No, they're putting all these various social issues. They're putting all these various issues between men and women, feminist issues, SJWs, BLM, ALM. Stuff that is just meant to shake the jar up and keep everybody distracted, keep everybody divided amongst themselves. And this is really what I said. This first, I was like, guys, go work out, move your body and stay stagnant. And then someone sent me this, and I already knew that this was evident, right? I already knew that this was extremely evident. We could see it. We could see it through the social programming. We could see it through the social media impact, the global media impact, the power hierarchy system. But I don't know, and I didn't fact check this as well. I'll tell you guys that right now. I did not fact check this. But, and if this number is true or false, that's up for you guys to go check right now. I'm just telling you guys that seeing this, I 100% believed it, even if the number is not as aggressive in reality. I 100% believe it because I'm seeing it day to day. And this is what really sparked this webinar and to share my theory. Because at the end of the day, unlike when we talk about how the global central banking system works, unlike when we talk about the global power hierarchy, this right here is a theory still. It's not like we have any hard proof to validate that the 1% in elite are purposely destroying masculinity. It is a theory based on all the information that we have collected, based on everything that I've said here. I feel the purpose of this is to solidify their wealth and control through the next 100 years. Because even though we all may wake up, even though we all may become very much aware of this power hierarchy and how the 1% control the 99%, if masculinity is destroyed, there is no fighting back. Do you understand? Do you guys understand the basis behind my theory? This is my theory. This is my reasoning behind it. This was all the meat and potatoes that I shared. This is my personal theory. This is I think the purpose of it, the outcome of it, and the reasoning behind it, and why they're doing it. And this is all the meat and potatoes that I said of the facts that are supporting it. You know? Those examples that I told you guys about how women won't even be attracted to emasculated men, of how they're being misled, those examples of how the media chooses their narratives, right? Do you understand? So I just wanted to share that viewpoint. If you guys have any questions for me right now, or if you guys want to discuss anything as well, then go ahead. No, well, this is the theory. This is the theory. The war on masculinity and how the 1% are destroying masculinity. All of this is 100% biological fact or economic fact. To deny biological or economic fact is just ignorant and being uneducated. To deny the power structure of the world, how the 1% control the 99%, to deny how the central privatized banking system works, to deny how it works down the line, to deny how the 1% controls that narrative within our media, food, and pharma, that's all facts. This is my theory. That's why I was telling you guys, like in these previous webinars, this blissful ignorance, 100% facts, no theory. Living in a mentally weak and sick society, 100% facts, no theory. Pandemic, 1% versus 99%, 100% facts, no theory. Today, I'm just going to read some comments and give my 2 cents before I end this. Today, a woman can create a child from a 2 egg cell. It doesn't matter, but society will crumble without masculinity. If society is run just based on femininity, and that's what ends up taking over, there will be no society. There will be no one to maintain the infrastructure of the world. So it does matter. Lakos boy, I know you're trying to sound woke, but you just sound uneducated and you're not really bringing any substance or value with your comment. The comment you just said didn't help anybody or bring any value or teach anybody anything. So anybody in the chat will tell you that as well. So if you want to ask a question or say something with actual value, then we can have a discussion on it. Otherwise, the chat's going to tell you the same thing, that you're trying to sound smart, but you're not saying anything. There's a lot of people in the world who will speak a lot of words, but won't actually say anything to you. And that's one of these guys. And if he responds to that with anger or aggression or like LOL, it's just validating that. If he wants to reply with some actual value to have a discussion over it, no, value is actually bringing some facts or substance to the table instead of saying a very open-ended, opinionated statement. And the fact that you said value is only agreeing with me is very uneducated and it's very low IQ of you. And it's also showing that you're still not bringing any value or substance. You're stating your point of view, but because it's not having any substance, value, facts, or information within it, it's coming from an uneducated point of view. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, 100%. I've studied Nietzsche, Maslow hierarchy of needs. I studied a lot of famous psychologists, modern psychologists, whether it be Jordan Peterson or Nietzsche, whether it be different power hierarchies through society and how they held their power, how they sustained power, how long they lasted. I've been studying this of the power, corruption, and greed through civilization. And I'm just adapting it all to the real world with actual understanding of the central banking system, financial system, and of course, how the governments work and everything down the line. That's why anything I've said in here, the facts, you can actually go fact check it yourself about how central banking works, about how it goes down to the governments and everything else. You know? How do you relate the habits of feeding people in society related to slow TD? What's TD stand for? Jonathan, can you tell me what the TD you're saying stands for? I'm a bit unaware. Unless it's like... What is my opinion on nihilism? That's really like I really have no opinion on that because I don't live my life that way. That's really just not giving a fuck about anything. Nothing has purpose. Nothing has value. What are we all doing here? A very pessimistic view on life, in my opinion. So I don't really have a good opinion on it because I've never practiced it. I've never studied it. I'm more on the opposite end of that. Yeah, this was just that quick webinar. If there's no questions, if anybody doesn't want to have an open discussion. Hello, I'm 71 years old. I also feel men in their 20s are not as masculine as your generation used to be. Vic, you are 100% right. Yes, the food, you have to understand. Through Jonathan, I'm answering your question now. This entire social programming, right? This entire social programming and what we're talking about with the destruction of masculinity is causing boys to make more emotional choices that are going to lead to short-term satisfaction. This means going to go eat the worst food possible, where that naturally has a health side effect of destroying a man's testosterone. So it's all sort of working hand in hand in the process of the destruction of masculinity. Right? That's why I was saying the education system, food, media, it's all working hand in hand. We could all make the active choices not to get involved in the pharmacide and develop. We can all make the active choices not to get involved in the pharmacide and go develop our mentality, right? We can all make the active choices of what we want to fuel in our body. We can make the active choices of what media and education we want to consume and put in our body. But nowadays, man is naturally being pushed to the worst options possible due to that destruction of masculinity. I have a question. Where can I research that? Because it is only something you wrote on screen. You don't know, where can you research what? Shit, yo, my shit froze. I think my stream froze. It's a good time to end it. But I was gonna say Google. You could Google the difference between. You could Google the biological difference between femininity and masculinity. You could Google the production and output of masculine traits, and also you could just look around in the real world. There's nothing sexist about me. Okay. If anybody is taking what I'm saying as sexist, it's because you have been socially programmed to believe everything I'm saying to defend masculinity is incorrect. There is nothing sexist at all. There is nothing sexist at all about me describing the reality of the world, how society was developed, who developed society. There's nothing sexist about me saying man has created the infrastructure that people have survived on. There's nothing sexist behind that. There's nothing sexist to say that the 1% of wealth is controlled by man. There's nothing sexist to say that masculine traits are what led to this. Okay, so now let's have a discussion. Nathan, give me some facts about a collective of women that have fought back against oppression in their own civilization, and also show me that genuine feminine power as a collective that is either maintaining or created any infrastructure in the world, has conquered any. I want to see it in the chat. Share it in the chat with everybody here. That's the point of this. I don't want to see you send me some inventions by women. I don't want you to go to Google and say, oh, inventions made by women. I don't want to see some bullshit like that. I want to see a collective of women. You're driving at 70 miles per hour, but you can still comment and watch the stream and say all of these empty claims and say all of these empty comments because maybe I offended you, but you can't send any facts. I want to see a global, collective, feminine power that has run the world through any point in history. I do not want to see, oh, well, women invented the iron. Well, women invented the like this. I want to see a collective of females and feminine traits that have actually accelerated society or pushed society or have led to the acceleration of civilization. I've never heard of Sarah the Conqueror. I heard of Genghis Khan. I never heard of, okay, well, taking care of the homestead or taking care of the home or women-owned businesses are functioning in a male-created society. I'm telling you, show me the infrastructure, show me the politics that women have created. You guys can get offended to this as well. Women created all of us, you fucking dummy. Women couldn't create another man without the help of man, you dummy. It's not like women are shitting out babies by themselves because they want to. You can't have a baby without impregnating a woman. I don't care that you follow Jordan Peterson. I don't care who you follow. I want the facts. I want to see the global corporation. I want to see the patriarchy. The patriarchy is established due to masculine traits dominating. That's simply why. That's simply why. It has nothing to do with man versus woman, but masculine traits follow men. You know what I mean? Women have not been excluded out of anything. Women have never been oppressed in that sense where they could not have come together as a collective. Exactly. You have to go do some research and then show your findings. See how you came to the table with your opinion first because I might have said something that pushed a button regarding your viewpoint on women? Now you have to do some research and bring your findings to the table. I'm already showing you the findings. I'm already showing you the research. I'm already stating the facts. Masculine traits is what has led to the infrastructure development that all women live within. Understand? So show me a collective of females that have dominated through society and through civilization. I can't show you guys every single educational paper I read but go read on the development of society on any educational website. Go to Google and only go to .gov. Only go to .edu website sources and actually read from psychologists, from professors. Go read the papers between masculine traits and feminine traits. Why don't you go read the economic differences about the control of money in the world versus female control of money in the world? If I was to show you guys every single educational paper that I've read to support these claims, it would be a 4-hour-long webinar. But that's why I tell you guys, hey guys, in every single session I've done, what do I tell you guys? What do I tell you guys in every single stream I've done? Hey guys, everything that I have said in here, go fact check it yourself. And anything that you guys want to bring towards me that's opinion based, bring some facts to me that I can go check myself. Whether it's the mentally weak and sick society and you guys want to go check the depression levels of modern society, go ahead. Go check the medical increase in depression of the world. Go check it out on the medical pages. Go to any .education.gov website. Don't go to, right? If you want to check the financial control of how central banking systems work, of how corporations work, of who is controlling this money, go check it. That's why I tell you guys, anything that I bring to the table that are facts, I'm going to tell you they're facts, and I'm going to tell you to go back check it and go put the time and effort in to go fact check it yourself. I'm the one doing the stream. You guys are the ones in the chat. And that's why even in this specific webinar, I said, hey guys, I have a personal theory. I have a personal theory. These are all facts. Feminine traits, masculine traits, these are all facts. This is my theory. And this is the reason behind it. You know? It's that simple. So, yeah. Nicholas Fernandez, what you're saying is incorrect. History has not always been sexist. Men have had all the power, control, or monetary value due to excelling and exerting masculine traits. Do you understand? Masculinity has nothing to do with sexuality. Masculine traits are man traits. The men and women have biological differences. There has not been more control of men over women in the world due to cultural differences. That's an extremely uneducated statement. It is due to biological differences between masculinity and femininity. You know what I mean? There's nothing, like I told you guys, if anybody's getting offended or thinking I'm sexist, you're ignoring the core issue and you're ignoring the fact that I have said nothing wrong about women. Name one thing that I've said wrong about women. I am simply objectively describing the reality of our society and the reality of the infrastructure of the world, the reality of the development of civilization. Tell me one thing that I have said incorrect or wrong about women, and then let me know I'm sexist. So how about that? Anybody who called me sexist, let me know one incorrect fact I said about women. Nicholas, you're still incorrect. You're still not Nicholas Fernandez. I'm sorry. You are still wrong. Whistleblower, gay, feminine man, you're just a pussy bitch. You're already a soy boy. Sorry about this. You're already a pussy bitch soy boy. You know what I mean? You're not going to be doing anything in your life anyways. We know that. Like as I'm going to be as direct and to the point as possible. If that means calling a guy a pussy bitch, it means calling a guy a pussy bitch. So how come nobody's telling me why I'm sexist? How come you guys are saying my view is sexist, but nobody's saying why I'm sexist? Let me know. Tell me what I said wrong about women. We have had women watching me right now. Comment in the chat agreeing with what I'm saying. So tell me what I said that was wrong towards women. Let me know what I said that was sexist or putting females down. If you can't do it, that means you were just in your feelings. I'm still waiting for the comment of why I'm sexist. Just because I'm defending masculinity as it's being destroyed does not mean I'm sexist. Nope, Nicholas, it's that biological trait of masculinity and the traits that come along masculinity. These traits are, through society, history, and scientific study, these traits are more inclined and higher probability seen in men versus women. Does that mean because these traits are not in women, I'm putting women down? No, I'm acknowledging the traits that feminine femininity also brings. Okay? So let me know one way of how I negatively spoke about women or put them down or downplayed any type of female trait. Let me know. Let me know how I'm sexist. And if you can't let me know, then this is 100% proving my theory that masculinity is being attacked and destroyed. There is no thing as toxic masculinity. How come we don't talk about toxic femininity? Nathan, how come I never seen you bring up toxic femininity? Do you understand how you guys have all been socially programmed to see there's issues when there's not even any issues there? How come nobody's talking about toxic femininity? There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's femininity and there's masculinity. Toxic masculinity is a way to kill masculinity by saying, hey, that's toxic. So if you guys cannot prove of how I'm being sexist with facts or what I said that was wrong, that is just proving about how everything is targeting masculinity. Even me defending masculinity is having people call me sexist. Even me having this discussion, I wasn't even swearing as much. I wasn't using as aggressive of a tone on purpose. I was not attacking anybody on purpose. I did not roast anybody on purpose. I simply said the perspective of how masculinity is being destroyed. And you guys are still calling me sexist. And now when I'm saying, okay, what did I say that was sexist? Nobody can say anything. Doesn't this show you does this not show you the proof about how ants are fighting amongst each other? About how people are getting socially programmed? About how testosterone is dropping? About why China is accelerating masculinity in their boys? It's that simple. All right, everybody. This is another long webinar. It's almost an hour and 15 minutes long. So, hey, if nobody can say of how I'm sexist, then I'm going to call it an end to this. And I proved everybody wrong. I brought facts to the table, information to the table, historical repetition, society examples, real world examples. I didn't down talk anybody. I didn't disrespect any other race, religion, nothing like that. Even the feminists and the social justice warriors who I hate, I did not downplay them. All I said is that these people are being misled. I didn't downplay the feminists or SJWs or anything like that. I just said they're being misled. All right? All right, everybody. Take care. I'll see you guys next time.